this generation or this era is so much way more exposed. Everything's on the tip of their fingers.
I advocate a lot of ABC of life, which means awareness, balance, and choice.
An aptitude test hypothetically when you were young, you would probably still have not been able to know that art is what interests me because you had no exposure to art.
We talk a lot about, in my work, inner child healing. A lot of inner child healing is needed for all age groups, for all generations, but I see my generation per se needing it the most.
Analyze a child or a child's learning in such minute detail that we forget the whole picture. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the ReSchool podcast. Once again, we have two guests with us who come from such different walks of life. It is amazing to see how varied our civilization and our society is. So, let us start with Radhika. Hi Radhika, welcome to the ReSchool podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, or how is it that you introduce yourself to others?
Well, I introduce myself as a soulpreneur, somebody who's working for upliftment, empowering of the souls.
Wow.
And I have been trained and facilitated and certified as various tags like mindfulness facilitator, Reiki master, EFT practitioner, NLP practitioner, and the list goes on. But one thing that drives me every single day is my vision, which I was awakened to 10 years back, and that is to leave the world better than I inherited. And I wake up to that every single morning, that even if it is one life, one soul that I touch, I have to make that difference.
It's such an amazing thing. It's so simple yet so profound. So
I think that's something that we all are working towards, that one purpose.
Absolutely. And hi Purva, welcome to the ReSchool podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, could you tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk very briefly about myself, but there are tons of things that I've maybe found my life very differently. I was in a corporate sector doing HR. And again, soul searching happened, and which made me pursue my passion. And now I run an art gallery, an art and a cultural space, which is called 079 Stories. So I'm the founder promoter for the same. I curate art shows. I run the whole space where we have an amphitheater and do everything related to art and culture. So maybe an art entrepreneur is now what I am. But yes, same thing, giving back to the society is the biggest thing that I wake up to every morning. And that's where so I've picked up a small society, say art related, and I nurture the artists and, put them across to the world. So that's where I'm touching their lives.
And I think I can vouch for this, that 079 is the place to go to if you're interested in art and all that. And the shows that you curate are beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Plus one.
Thank you so much.
And having attended a few of your sessions and having seen you work with our teachers, it's a pleasure. The kind of work that you do is just amazing. So thank you so much for agreeing to come over, and it's a beautiful experience to have both of you here. Let us begin with this idea of what was your schooling all about. So given that this is the ReSchool podcast, tell me a little more about what was that all about, and what are the experiences that you carry with you even today?
So I have been born and brought up in Ahmedabad, and I went to Mount Carmel School, which was an all-girls school and a convent school. So of course, a very, very different experience than what my kids are going through today, or the normal schooling method is today. We've been brought up in a very, very disciplined environment where I give it to my school today with my discipline for waking up and doing my work regularly and going to school. And that discipline has definitely worked. So being in a staunch convent school, we've been embedded with so many good things and bad things. Not bad as in, we don't term good and bad, but yes, the things which we don't resonate with it now. in terms of, it was an old style schooling academically. We were judged on our marks.
Okay.
We were called a failure if we could not write in an exam at that point of time. So we couldn't be, we couldn't have, I would say, that independence to not, we could not be moody. Let's just
Okay.
put it like, today's kids can be moody and say, okay, I feel like sleeping, and in the class they can go to sleep. But we couldn't be moody. But at the same time, it has taught us a lot of things in life which I take back. But yes, today that system of schooling doesn't work for us anymore. So we are unlearning for our kids and the future generation, to give them the schooling platform.
So what you're saying is that there was a lot of regimentation,
Very.
and that helped in developing certain basic traits of discipline and all that.
Yes.
But that did take away some form of individuality. That did take away some idea of saying that, what if I could, if not academics, is there any other way for me to shine?
So the reason is we couldn't find ourselves when we were in the schooling system. We didn't know ourselves. It was a regimented system where this is right, this is wrong, and this is how you have to go ahead with it. There was nothing where we could explore ourselves. There was nothing where we could say, oh, this is what I like, and I want to do this, and I don't want to do this. That pursuing never happened with us.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your schooling?
I remember, again, similar to what Purva shared, I was born and brought up in Bokaro Steel City, a small steel plant, one of the steel plants of India.
Okay.
And my father was a doctor, and a lot of my relatives are into the mainstream medicine.
Oh.
And being raised in a family like that, the only two options we got was medicine or engineering. Engineering was also a very secondary choice.
If you can't make it to the doctor,
doctor,
then okay,
yes.
be the engineer. But beyond that,
There is no world beyond that. And from being an engineer, be computers, to an MBA where I was with this guy, and today doing what I'm doing, I reflect upon my life and I think, what if I was given this choice 20 years back?
Oh.
How much more difference could I have made? But then I realized, if I did not have the life experiences of all those years, I would not be doing what I am doing with this passion, this devotion, and this discipline, I would say, this persistence.
Sure.
And the awareness that today I have about the work that I do, and the connection that I feel with the work that I do comes from my life experiences, and that happened with that kind of schooling.
True.
So we talk a lot about, in my work, inner child healing.
Okay.
A lot of inner child healing is needed for all age groups, for all generations, but I see my generation per se needing it the most, because we are the
I completely
sandwich
agree. Yes,
generation.
agreed, totally.
Because we've been brought up in a certain way, our schooling has been certain, and then our children are going to different schools, and their expectation from us as parents is so different, is vastly different from what we've been accustomed to as being parents. So
We have a certain implants in our system where this is right, this is wrong, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how it's supposed to be. And we've lived our life like that. And now wrapping that wrapper has to be unwrapped, and we have to, even we are students now actually. We are learning with them, with the new generation. As much as we are sandwiched, I think we are the privileged ones where we got this, and that is why we can actually make a difference and explore this. So we've been the privileged
one.
one.
Flux, I think, as parents.
And it's a beautiful transition that we have seen from our parents parenting us to us parenting our children. It's a humongous shift, because we did not learn from our parents, whereas our parents learned from their parents.
If we learn from our parents, our children are going to disown us.
Totally.
But it is beautiful to see how our parents are, that generation is also adapting to the our children's generation. Yes.
Oh, as grandparents, they come across as very different people.
Very different.
No, but adoption. See, I think the adoption with the new system, they went through the same system that they must have gone through. They gave their kids us the same system. But now with the grandchildren, their adaptation is way more. We actually conflict sometimes, but their adaptation is way more.
Sometimes I envy not being my own child.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, what happened? I could have a parent, had a parent like you, like they
Yeah.
had split personalities.
Absolutely.
I keep telling my son that he comes and tells me, bro, what's up? I said, I never had that guts to tell my parents, bro, what's
Bro,
up?
what's up?
You know, and I'm very coolly saying nothing, how was your day? So I'm also responding to him saying he's my friend and it's okay, you know?
So the dynamic between the parent and the child has shifted, and
Totally.
in families where it hasn't shifted, there's a lot of angst.
Yes.
I
There's a
think
lot of
yeah,
stiffness.
there's a lot of
Yes.
stiffness. So coming to your own work and the fact that you deal with people day in and day out who come from very different walks of life. What is it that you notice in them? What kind of traits do you notice which you believe schools could have influenced, or if they could be reschooled in different manners, things could have been different?
So I advocate a lot of ABC of life, which means awareness, balance, and choice.
Okay.
Awareness means perceiving everything as is and judging nothing.
Okay.
And what I see around is a lot of judgment, less of perceiving.
Is it possible to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's practice. It's your brain muscle.
Okay.
Just like you strengthen your body, there are ways in which you can strengthen your awareness.
Okay.
You can strengthen balancing your mind, of not going into duality, of not always putting the boxes of the right and the wrong, the good and the bad. There is always a choice that we make, and moment to moment. And this reminds me of a quote by Viktor Frankl, who says, between any trigger and response there is a gap. And in that gap lies your power to choose.
And that power to choose.
Is your freedom.
Okay.
So if we can really tap into that awareness, bringing balance and choosing moment to moment, your thoughts is your choice, how you feel is your choice, what you say is your choice, what you do is your choice.
Wow. Just hearing Radhika is like this sense of
Calm, zenness.
she will talk. I was like, okay.
But
No, so just to add to that, I think I agree with her completely that everything is a choice that we make. Just for example, if we are told that we are only going to live for 10 seconds, okay, in that 10 seconds, what is the choice you're going to make? And that choice will reflect, and every time if you just keep saying that in the next 10 seconds, how are you going to live? And that's end of your life. You'll keep making good choices. Not good, but you'll keep making choices.
You will learn how to prioritize.
Yes.
You will not probably be chasing
Yes.
the irrelevant things of life.
So we do not live our life in not being aware of it, like truly being present and then making choices rather than being in the effect of life. You are taking charge of life. You become responsible of every decision. Then you don't blame people. You don't blame your environment that this happened because people were not supportive, or the school was not supportive, or my family was not supportive. You made a choice.
You make that choice. I think just owning up that idea is in itself extremely powerful.
Very, very
And
empowering.
once you do that, it's only after that you can start healing or
Correct.
moving. In the landscape today, where mental health issues or mental health needs are literally exploding, and in our school we see it rising at an exponential level. So earlier we had a part-time counselor. Come pandemic, we had to have a full-time one. 2 years later, we need 2 full-time counselors. So this need for mental health and well-being is literally exploding.
Correct.
So in times like these, what is it that we as parents, as adults of the society, or as schools, what is it that we're doing wrong? Is there anything that we need to change, or is it just the changing times? So why is it that our students today are in so much more need of just being mentally strong?
I think this generation or this era is so much way more exposed. Everything's on the tip of their fingers, you know, just one word and they get every knowledge that they want, which is right or wrong, we don't know. And it's limited to their understanding or their perception. And with the social media, you know, that whole idea of not being present, fear of missing out, you know, we didn't have so much distractions. Our distractions were, you do a Garba class, you do a dance class, you do a singing class, you know, these were the distractions that we had. We never had cell phones while growing up. We had to, so I was just telling even my younger staff that who works for me that they keep forgetting things because they're so dependent on technology. At that time, we used to remember birth dates, telephone numbers. Like today, I don't remember, but I remember the old phone numbers that I used to call. And our mind was active. We used to play out. We were not on video games. So that somewhere being a fit that, and while growing up, everybody goes through that different phases, hormonal phases, and teenagers, like from an infant to a kid to a teenager to an adult. All these phases biologically we are facing anyways, and now there is so much exposure that I think they cannot deal with it. So for them to be where, I think our generation was better there for sure.
Okay, we had fewer distractions. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think we had closer social connections as
Yes.
well.
So, going against the flow with this generation would not help them.
Okay.
I feel going with the flow and being a part of what they are doing might help a little. Whereas being a part of their flow means watching the shows that they are watching,
Okay.
talking about their likes and dislikes, and what leads them to those choices. What social media are they using? Not asking them not to use it,
But
but
being a
if
part
they are
of that.
using
Being
it,
a part of it, yeah.
whom are they following on Instagram? What are they seeing on Netflix? What is attracting them so much? So just understanding their mind, like really going deep into their mind to understand rather than don't do this, don't do that, that
We
is
need
wrong.
to be their best friends rather than their parents, and that's the new parenting system is what I feel.
The more you go against, the more they will.
Resistance.
Yeah.
I think I
Burst.
talk about that also a little in ReSchool. But one thing, and I literally had to undergo that. My son, last year, hit his pre-teens and all of that, and suddenly he turned into a different being. Okay, he got a cell phone, and then he literally just immersed himself inside it. My little lovely baby who used to come and hug me and all that disappeared into the cell phone. He would come home and he would be, and I'm like, is this the same child like who was a couple of months ago and all of that? And then I realized that while this is happening, what choice do I have? And I saw him following basketball a lot and all that, and I'm not a sports person, so I really don't have a lot of understanding. Then one fine day, I literally sat down and educated myself on all things basketball. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked, I need to learn all about basketball, so I understood the history, the game, the
players.
they had all of it. Spent some one day understanding and soaking myself in, and the next day I go to him, he's watching a match, and then I give a few comments, he's looking at me, he's like, who is this woman? You know? And since then it has given us a great way to bond with each other.
Correct.
But I still don't understand a lot of basketball, and he calls me out, he's like, you know, to ChatGPT wala gyan lekar hi.
But it's the same thing that happened with us also. My family is completely into sports. So my son, he was a national swimmer, and one fine day he decided to quit. And he said, I am not a swimmer, born swimmer. You pushed me in it, and I want to be a cricketer.
Wow.
So, okay, that chapter is over and we start cricket. And he has been an outdoor person. So for him, in his head, he's Virat Kohli. He wants to just, and my husband's also been a national cricketer. And so, of course, that genes and that support is always there. But luckily, then I had to educate myself. So the entire house talks sporting language.
Oh.
So we have basketball, we have football, we have trampoline, we have a cricket pitch. So every day evening, that no matter what, even I have to learn all these sports and play with them, just to be a part of them where they can have a conversation. And the entire family, right from my in-laws to everybody, watches all cricket matches because that's the point of discussion. Who is doing what more.
Oh, so come IPL, you guys are going to have like a blast.
Yeah, my husband's a commentator, so they have inputs for him also. He is a chairman of selectors for Ranji Trophy, and he commentates on Star Sports. So my kids, my younger one, the daughter who's 7, even she has inputs.
Wow.
So because we've made that, and where that digital time or that screen time has been cut off, so everybody has made that effort to be a part of their life
True.
the way they want it.
I think if we can weave in technology in a manner where it fosters connections rather than severs them, then it would be a great
Yes.
idea. Uh, well, we've spoken a lot about our children and all of that. I'm sure you meet fellow parents and mothers and all of it. And is there anything that you believe that we as parents need to reschool ourselves on? So, is there anything that you believe that mothers today are either fussing about, which may not be the most important thing, or are we on the right track?
Well, what in my personal experience, because I come across women day in and day out, working with them in different facets, one thing that I surely think needs to change is their projection.
Okay.
They're projecting their fears, their insecurities, their idea of success and failure. If that could change, and that will only and only come with inner healing, if they could address what needs to change inside, that little girl inside is still craving for validation from her parent. And that little girl is projecting that fear and insecurity on her
the
child.
child.
Yeah.
And that needs to shift.
True. As parents, if we stop becoming a vessel of our past experiences and trying to
Absolutely.
have our future generation fulfill them for us.
Correct. And they do it completely unknowingly. They are
They've
oblivious
been,
about it.
they've been wired that way. So all our implants has to be deleted. And so we are actually getting a new life with our kids and the next generation is what I feel. We need to unlearn everything that we've learned.
Okay.
And we need to start relearning for them. So we are the ones going to school, not them. Honestly, we are going to school for them. It's like that. We have the parents. I think I also meet a lot of parents.
True.
This parallel schooling, this system. I don't understand why when you have schools in this era, you need parallel schooling where there are tuitions and they fuss about marks and they fuss about. So today when I tell my son that you're playing cricket and you're playing competitive cricket, it's okay if you get 50% because I cannot burden him with too many things at this age. The mother's saying, how is 50% possible? How will he cope up at 9? How will he get 10? I said, he is playing I cannot, he will not do justice there, he will not do justice here. I am okay. Marks is just a number. Do you remember your 8th grade marks? They say,
Nobody
no.
does.
Then why are we fussing over our kids? And why are we validating ourselves through kids? You've never achieved.
I think every parent meet, we should just call the two of you to stand there and tell.
No, I've actually told, I went because my son has to miss a lot of school. We have parallel schooling. And the school has advised because he doesn't attend school because of the district and the state games. So I have actually told his teachers that he needs to know all the concepts, but during exams, I want him to study 50%, where he gets 50%, but that has to be so perfect and focused and rigor. I'm okay if he doesn't get marks. Because he's trying to perform somewhere, I cannot put pressure.
You cannot. There's just the way there are no super moms, there are no super children. You
Yeah,
can't have a
at
child
13, I didn't do anything, and if he's doing so much, I need to support him rather than tell him, no, I need 80%, I need you to score a century, I need you to be in state, you need to captain, you need to have first 10, I cannot.
Here I also, with my personal experience with my daughter who just gave her 10th exam, I remember her saying, I wish you told me what to do. And that came like a backfire because I never told her what to do and I always asked her to explore her path. She said there are so many parents who told that you have to do engineering, you have to do medicine, you have to do that.
How do you respond to that?
Talk. What do you mean when you say this? Where is it coming from?
So, I think when we choose the idea of saying that we let the child be, we believe we are taking the higher path. We are taking the path of being more gracious and more
And
open.
empowering them with choices again.
But when the child comes back
And says this, it is their insecurity that is speaking. It is not them. It is their fear of the unknown that is speaking. And that needs to be addressed. But it's okay to be fearful.
And can we as parents, as the adults, address it, or is it for themselves to
Just talk
overcome?
about your fears, just talk about your life journey, your paths, and paths of their near and dear ones, their grandparent, their grandfather, their grandmother, their father. What have they been through and how have they explored their path? And it is okay to not know things. It is okay to be in that ambiguity for a while.
Okay, interesting. Uh, so all of us, when we were in schools, there were, as you said, it was regimented, or the idea was about saying that there are only limited choices. But both of you have built careers in very unusual ways, right? If you look back at what you were educated for versus what you're doing today, there's very little resemblance. Uh, that said, what I would want to ask is, what are the things within the school system that you would like to change? One of the reasons why we do this podcast is also to hear people from all walks of life and gain understanding of what is it that the society needs us as schools to reschool ourselves in. So, are there any bizarre rules that you remember, bizarre ways in which the schools as a system function that you would probably want to change, would want to introduce, would want to delete?
I mean, now I think more than ever, schools also have become very aware of what they are doing, and they are incorporating things like social emotional learning and counselors in the school. We never had that. We never had.
Yeah, we had science and commerce. If you're doing well, you go to science. If you're not doing well, you
Never
go to commerce. So there are choices given. If you're doing commerce, you're doing business or marketing. If you're doing science, you're doing doctor or an engineer. This was a limited choice. Arts was, oh, you don't belong to academics at all. In fact, art had so much to offer, but that was categorized as you don't belong to academics at all.
True.
So
And counseling was a taboo.
even today, certain stratas, it is a taboo.
It is a taboo, but it's still schools like modern schools like your school is bringing it forward, putting it across so that it is accessible for the children.
So you would like to see more of awareness on that front?
More of awareness and more of
acceptability.
inclusion. Inclusion, just like I have known about mindfulness practices being incorporated as the core curriculum in European schools or Western schools. It is as important as math, science or English.
Okay, so Indian schools are far, far away from there.
I also know a few schools in Delhi who are doing it.
Okay.
So I feel that could be the next step where this is incorporated as core. It is not an extra thing. जब time होगा तब करेंगे.
So it's not like a cosmetic element.
So I would put it in this way that mindfulness, maybe you have counselors already. So that counselors should be practicing mindfulness as well, where it is compulsory for a student to come and talk and try getting things. So this has to be embedded in them while growing up in the system. Not all parents are aware or evolved to put them there. So maybe the schools can help them do that at a very early age.
Or maybe teachers are trained as mindfulness facilitators or EFT practitioners who are doing these things. Like if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling sad, you know a tool that can help you feel better.
Okay.
But I'll correct here that there are schools who do tap into in a very small way, where they make a child realize what the feeling they are going through. My kids were in Riverside initially, so my elder one has shifted to another school, but my daughter is still in Riverside, and this year in first grade she was actually coming. So every time she sees me with a normal face, she's like, sad face or happy face or straight face. So she's trying to understand a feeling.
The emotions, yes.
She is trying to understand a feeling that, so they are trying to understand by themselves. So today I'm cranky, so maybe I'm sad, there's something going on. So they want to identify, but they cannot. So maybe adding a facilitator as a counselor, where they can just go, where they understand they can walk in and talk, is very important.
Okay. So as schools, we could focus more on self-awareness rather than just gaining factual knowledge.
Like the corporates abroad and even here, corporates and industries, they do have therapists to deal stress. The same way the kids can have a mindful counselor to just deal with their lives, with their growing age and their hormones and everything that they're learning, you know.
Offices like Google and Microsoft and Apple have a complete separate section for people to meditate, for people to just vent, for people to get better if they are emotionally charged or emotionally heavy.
Sure. So I think as schools, sometimes we forget that we are dealing with humans. We focus so much more on productivity, on getting the max out of them. So getting the max out of the teacher, getting the max out of the child intellectually.
Even the teachers, what they go back home and what they come back here, they also have their baggages.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? So, and sometimes in some way they're humans, it's going to come out on kids as well. And same with the kids. They go home and we don't know what's going on at their house. So even they have baggages. So maybe bringing that balance, that now most of the schools are, going through meditation and yoga sessions when they begin school.
I think as urban schools, as more open-minded schools, they may be, but the vast majority of schools, even today, probably miss that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying, that we need to be bringing in many more practices of being in control of the mind rather than by being led by it.
Yes.
Rather than just going astray with it and going all over the place. So great. ReSchool is right in front of you. I'm sure you've had a little time to browse through it. Is there anything about this book that you would like to ask? Anything about the schools and the way we are reschooling ourselves?
Yes, I would. The first page that came to me was assessments, and that actually bothers me, which we were talking. It says targeted result will be gained. How much is too much?
How much is too much?
I really want to know that. What is how much and what is too much?
So, oftentimes what happens is, as school leaders, we try to analyze a child or a child's learning in such minute detail that we forget the whole picture. A new form of medicine is saying that, not a new form. Earlier, the medicine was holistic, which said that all your organs interact with each other. If you look at any one particular organ and only try to heal that, the modern medicine may be able to cure it, but the side effects are everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right? Similarly, in education, what we're doing is we are assessing it at such a granular level, and we pride ourselves in it, in terms of saying that, oh, I know he or she can't spell the 2-letter words because he has so and so unawareness, this, that, etc., etc. We have all the analytical understanding of why the child is not doing what he or she could do, but we forget the big picture. So in order to look at the trees, we've stopped looking at the jungle. So we've not been able to zoom out, and you should see the report cards nowadays. I met this child, and I talk about it in the book as well. A preschool child, I mean, it was analyzed very well, etc., etc. But does a parent ever go through it? Does a child ever go through it? Any other school that you are going to, who is going to sit and go through it? So sometimes just over analysis becomes a problem. The other part is, of course, over testing. So very often what I see is schools spend a lot more time in testing rather than actually remediating and teaching. So this time has to be spent in exploration, time has to be spent in understanding, in letting things seep in. But when you have like a roster of tests happening every week, every Monday, every Friday, where is the time to
Understand,
stop
absorb.
and to reflect and to understand and to relook at things? So I think as schools, we just need to understand that we're not a testing agency.
And what are we testing ultimately?
But again, you said analyzing the kid is what assessment is. But do you think at a particular age that analysis is going to be correct for when they move out and when actually they have to do things? So do you feel that analyzing a kid is important at that point of time?
It is. It's just that cannot be the only thing that you're doing. Also, that analysis has to come with this humbleness and understanding that this is my myopic understanding of this child. There is a lot more around the child, the holistic idea that I've probably not understood. Also, another thing I've seen, Purva, is people evolve. So what my test report or report card says today may not be true 2 years, 5 years.
Correct.
And children today will take your so-called aptitude test and will be told that, oh, you would do great as in this profession, that profession. But over a period of time, even today we see that in spite of having all the options, people do end up picking wrong, I wouldn't say wrong, people do end up picking something that doesn't sustain their interest for a long time. And eventually they move. Eventually they pursue different.
I've done the same thing,
Exactly.
but yes.
And even if you were given an aptitude test hypothetically when you were young, you would probably still have not been able to know that art is what interests me because you had no exposure to art.
Correct.
Right. So that is. So yeah, sometimes we just go overboard and we forget that at the end of the day, it's just a human-to-human connection.
Correct.
कि मेरे को कोई report card नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को कुछ नहीं चाहिए. If I can, as a teacher, sit across and be with the child for that moment, for that time, I think things will take care of themselves. So as schools, we just become too saddled with analysis, and we need to relook at that. So
Correct.
yeah, that's where I was coming from.
Thank you so much.
You have mentioned about the type of training do teachers in your school receive, and is it effective or not? So I would like to ask, what kind of training is GGIS providing
To the teachers?
to the teachers?
Ah, so I'm in love with this sentence by Andy Graf. He's of Intel. He says training is the boss's job. So if there's one thing that we constantly do is train, 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 train. The number of hours, and just recently, I think we completed our year, and we have something called the yearly yatra, in which we talk about what each and every child, every teacher, all of them do that. So we look at the entire year and say, what was this year like for us? And I do the yearly yatra for the whole school to say, in this past year, what did we as a school do? And we counted the number of teacher hours that we spent in training, and that was upwards of, I think, 7,500 hours.
Oh, wow.
So this is, of course, all teachers combined and the number of hours, and every single day our teachers stay back 1 hour after the students leave, and every single day you will find some or the other training happening for a smaller group. There's that need-based training that's there, and we do all kinds of training. So if you're talking about the kind, so there is of course the need-based of saying that I am struggling with classroom management and I need strategies for classroom management. Then there is the subject enrichment, and then there is the whole person development. So we've had the pleasure of having you as a trainer, understanding different facets of just being a great human. And then we have these reading circles. So as leadership team, we have a specific reading time. We have an sharpen the saw time, where we are saying that if we don't refill our cups, how do we bring it to our team? So presently we are reading Sapiens, and while it has nothing to do with say the day-to-day work of us as leaders, I think it has everything to do with being a leader.
With being a human.
With being a human. So just developing our own personality, I wouldn't even say personality, developing our own character, so that we can bring more to our workplace. So yeah, training, I believe, is an integral part of us as a school.
I very strongly believe that we are all WIP till RIP, which is work in progress till rest in peace.
Oh yeah. I think we're one of the only school who write it on our bus that, we are a proud work in progress school. We literally claim it. Listen, if you want perfection, don't come here. In our open house and all of that, we put it out clearly that we are learning.
But all schools, I think, and every child is work in progress. Every teacher is work in progress. And every school is, every human,
Every human is.
Every parent is, yes.
It's just that as adults, we seek perfection at times. And that is what we're trying to hack and say, and just bring it out to say that your child is also a work in progress. Don't expect complete homework, fancy report card and well done projects and all that.
In fact, every kid is. So if you're competing with another kid, even that is a work in progress.
Right?
There is a very beautiful understanding from Bhagavad Gita, which says there are two ways in which you can lead your life. One is being Sarv Shresht, and one is being Sarv Uttam. Sarv Shresht means there are two people racing for a deadline. Both will reach only till here. But if you want to become Sarv Uttam, there is no deadline, because you are only competing with yourself.
Wow, was such a powerful thought. Yes. Great. And with that, we come to the last segment, rapid fire. Yes. Ready? Okay, few very simple questions. Homework, is it a necessary element or is it an outdated practice? Homework for
Necessary for me.
necessary.
Because I want to bridge the gap between the school and the home.
Okay.
Some practice work, definitely.
Some practice work, definitely. A book everyone must read, and I'm not talking just children, or if you want to share about
Heal
a book
Your
that
Life.
every child. Okay, Heal Your Life by
Louis Hay.
Louis Hay. Okay.
One book that comes to my mind now is The Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Okay, great. How do you unwind? So I'm sure you lead busy lives, you wear many hats. So what does unwinding look like for you?
Spending time with family, just that one dinner and watching something on television and talking about our day.
Okay.
That's unwinding. We all look forward to it.
Okay.
I play with my kids in the evening, one sport, and have dinner together where we talk about the whole day. That's unwinding for me.
Unwinding for you. Okay. one cuisine you could eat for a lifetime. It's like cuisine. I'm not talking a particular dish, but something that you so Indian.
Dal chawal and
Sabzi roti.
bas. Not even sabji roti. Dal chawal and any chutney also, but dal chawal I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, Gujarati food.
Okay.
No matter where, I love all the cuisines, trying different food, but at the end I want to eat.
At the end, I know. Same here. It's like ghar ka khana.
Khichdi. You go back to
One
khichdi.
bowl, yes.
You travel everywhere and after a while, you say, "Bahut ho gaya."
Khichdi.
I need my one bowl meal where I can accommodate everything there.
Okay, great. One artist or album that you can listen to on repeat. It's like, this song or this artist that I could just.
It keeps evolving for
Yeah.
me. Yeah. So now I am listening to Radhika Das, who sings a lot of Krishna bhajan and Krishna kirtans. So who he is.
So for me, it depends on my mood. If I'm in that slow mood, I'll listen to soft jazz, and if I'm in that, peppy mood, it can be Punjabi music from AP Dillon to everything, and then there are soulful chants that I listen to in the morning. So my days is vary with music.
Okay, great. And one specific memory you have of your school days. Just the last question, just to go back to this idea of saying.
I was in the same section with the same set of students throughout my grade 1 to grade 10th. And that is such a strong bond of 50 students in one class
For 10
studying
years.
10 straight years. There was no shuffling. And that is something I really cherish. Because when we meet wherever we are across the globe, that bond is still there. We have literally grown up together.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of memories come across when you asked me this question. A lot of thoughts and a lot of memories came. But I think one thing that we learned in Mount Carmel, per se me, and I think my kids or today's kids will never learn or are not inclined in learning till they don't pursue that career, is needlework. I used to hate that class. I used to hate that teacher because she was very, very snooty. But today I'm grateful for her that even I'm not dependent on anybody to do anything for myself. I can actually take a needle and sew something up. That's okay. Not being in a fashion field or not being in anything. But yes, I'm grateful for at least no schools offer that anymore. Yeah.
This reminds me, last summer my mother was here to stay with us and she taught my daughter the needlework.
So I was going to tell my mom to teach my daughter. I said, I
And
cannot
my son.
touch, but yeah, because that's something you will never be stranded with. Wherever you can, cut any hacks you want if you know that.
Just stitch your way through.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I do embroidery as a hobby. It takes me forever to finish one small piece, but yeah, I love doing that. It's just therapeutic.
Yeah.
That's your way of meditation.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've not been doing that for a while, but yeah, it is. Well, that brings me to an end of this wonderful podcast. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming over.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
inviting me.
Pleasure to have both of you, and it is amazing to hear how schools play such a vital role in shaping all of us.
Yes.
It does,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank
Thank you
so
for
much.
having us.
Thank you,
It was a
everyone.
great podcast. Thank you so much.
And with that, we come to an end of yet another episode. We've learned so many interesting things from our guests. And one thing all of us need to realize is that schools deal with humans. Instead of looking at them as just somebody who should be more productive, we need to start looking at our children as just human beings who need to be nurtured. Thank you so much for watching the podcast, and don't forget to leave your comments. Bye.